Hello everybody, welcome back to Screen Stars, welcome to another PlayStation review. Today's review is for the new wrestling game that was released just yesterday, I believe, on the PlayStation, and that is Action Arcade Wrestling. Now this is brought to us by Reverb Communications, obviously a small studio, and I'm a fan of wrestling. You know, I have been a fan of wrestling for a long time, ever since I was in my teens, really. And I have played pretty much most wrestling games that have ever been on the market. And I think there has been certainly a gap in the market for a good wrestling game. For a while now, I think Fire Pro Wrestling is easily the best wrestling game on the market at the minute. Everybody's hoping that the new WWE game is going to make up for the shocking display of WWE 2K20 and the new AEW wrestling game that's going to be coming out in the near future as well. So the future's looking fairly bright for wrestling games. And this game has popped in there before all the others to try and, pick up some of the wrestling fans. What can you expect with this game? Well, to be honest, with this game, what you can expect is a fairly basic wrestling game, but for the price, and I paid less than £10 for this in the UK, you do get quite a bit of value for money. And I must admit, I was genuinely surprised when I started playing this game, because I did not expect this game to be as good as it was. And that's not to say that this game is a particularly well-polished game, because it certainly isn't. It's what you would consider certainly a budget wrestling game, but it has a few surprises up its sleeve as well. So initially, this game is certainly lacking modes. You only really get an exhibition mode here, but there is quite a nice array of wrestling matches for you to choose from. You can choose one-on-one, triple threat, 4-on-4, 5-on-5, etc. Tag teams, triple threats, all this kind of stuff. It's got a whole array of different matches to choose from, but you don't have things like steel cages. You don't have a lot of the match types that you can expect in, the wrestling games that you play regular, the WWE games, etc. You're not going to get that at all. You do get its version of like a Royal Rumble and Battle Royales and things like that. So it is bare bones in regards to its modes. Now, what it does have, surprisingly, it's got a good creation stable. You can create your own wrestler, etc. But you can also, and I didn't expect this at all, download like already created wrestlers on a community, very much like you do on Fire Pro. If any of you played that out there, you can download the wrestlers, and many of them have been very closely designed and created to wrestlers and characters that you will love and recognize from WWE, AEW, and even the usual array of superheroes and things like that, etc. It's also got arenas that you can download that you'll recognize from AEW, WWE, WCW, ECW, past and present, all this kind of stuff. And you can even create and customize your own title. It's very basic and bare bones, but you can do it, which is a nice addition. And you can create your own roster, i.e. stable, if you like. So the game does come with a nice variety of its own wrestlers. Weird and wonderful collection of wrestlers with all these strange moves, etc. associated with them. But once you've downloaded, like I think on the first day I played this, I downloaded well over 40 recognizable wrestlers from WWE and AEW, and I thought they looked remarkably similar. You can see some on screen right now. We've got Edge, we've got Chris Jericho, CM Punk, John Cena, and they don't look that bad. They look pretty good. And they've all got finishing moves that you will recognise from your favourite wrestlers as well. So I think the creation suite is really quite good. The graphics, as you can see, have got like this cartoonish shell shading effect to them that are quite effective but fairly basic. The arenas, again, as you can see there, look fairly effective. The crowds are fairly effective, certainly for a budget wrestling game. However, the game does not come with entrances and things like that. You can use weapons in the matches, which are pretty cool. Usual array of weapons, guitars, chairs, etc. It's even got lightsabers as weapons, which, let's be honest, how cool is that? But how does it play as a wrestling game? Well, when you first put the game on, you are asked to complete a tutorial. There's like 28 sections to the tutorial. It takes you about 10 minutes to complete. And it gives you a good idea of how to play the game. It's fairly basic. You've got, your square button to punch. You've got your X button to grapple. Keep hold of the X button for longer, and you'll do a stronger grapple. And if you do directional buttons with the grapples, you'll do different moves. You can run. You can climb the turnbuckle, etc., etc. And you've got finishing moves at the end. But what it's also got that's quite nice, it gives you the option to complete a spot. So it will fire up on the screen when you're playing a match. Complete this spot and you'll get bonus points. And it could be anything from, do a strong grapple using the up button or etc, etc. But it's also got power-ups that will appear on screen that will be like health buffs or speed buffs and things like that. It's a nice little addition, and it's true to its roots when it says it's like an arcade wrestling game, because it really is like an arcade wrestling game. It works smoothly enough, the wrestling matches, but the AI is really quite poor, and there's a lot of clipping in regards to the wrestlers when they clip into each other and things like that. So the polish just isn't there really. There's not much in the way of glitches, to be fair, and the game hasn't crashed on me once yet. So if you can play a game that's a little bit janky and doesn't have a great deal of polish on it, and you're quite forgiving, then you're probably going to like it, especially if you're a wrestling fan and you're looking for something a little bit different. There is the thing with this game for me is it really does come down to your expectations with a game that's less than £10 with this kind of wrestling game. I was pleasantly surprised playing it, like I said, because I just didn't expect for you to be able to download these recognizable wrestlers so that you can create it, and make it more akin to what you like in regards to wrestling and some of your favorite wrestlers. It did surprise me in that aspect. I loved the fact that you could download the arenas. I was quite impressed with the creation suite. But the weakest point, unfortunately, which is a bit of a downfall for a wrestling game, is the wrestling itself. It's just a little bit too basic, and it's a little bit too unpolished for my liking and probably a lot of yours liking. But for the price that it is, that I paid for this, I was genuinely impressed with a lot of what you get with this game. It's kind of come out of nowhere for me, and it's filling the gap nicely until the next big wrestling game. I do think it could do with a little bit of polish in regards to updates from the developer. There's every time you slam somebody or hit somebody with any impact, there's this weird effect on the mat, as you can see on screen. It's like this green impact effect. It just looks cheap, doesn't help. I don't think it just diminishes the product a little bit. But I think with a little bit of polish and a little bit of effort, you could get an awful lot of fun out of this game. And the addition of titles is a little bit of a letdown as well, because there's no visual representation of people with the titles and things like that. There's not even an acknowledgement when you win a title that you've won one. So it's kind of like a tacked on idea as well. But I'm going to be quite generous here, mainly because of what I paid for it and the surprise factor here, and the fact that it's actually much better than I expected it to be. So I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10. If you're quite forgiving out there and you're a fan of wrestling games and you're willing to give this one a go, you might be suitably impressed with this one. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 for that reason. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you found this review useful. I will be back with more content on the channel very, very soon.